Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So first of all, I do want to do a quick apology that if my voice sounds very strange, it's because I'm just not very well at the minute. But with that out of the way, this is daily race B for this week, and in all honesty, on Monday morning I was having a few internet problems but did manage to get a race in. Then I decided, you know what, that looks like a bit of fun around Laguna Seca with the Gr.3 cars. And boy, was it entertaining. In all honesty, it was probably the most ridiculous and dirty lobby I think I've played in the longest time. And it just reminded me of why I really don't play sport mode that much, and why I'd kind of rather race with my community than randoms in sport mode, because it's just getting absolutely ridiculous at this point. So my early game strategy was basically to just, if people want to go through, or you know they're going to make a late lunge or such, I'll just leave them a bit of space and let them through, and I'll probably get them back at some point. But as you can see, we let a car through, this being the Porsche in front of us, and the ramming then begun, and from there it just got absolutely out of hand, with lap 1 and lap 5 being the biggest culprits for the absolutely ridiculous nonsense driving. Usually you can weigh up what a lobby's like when you first really jump in. Within a few laps you probably get a feeling for how people are going to drive, and I could see here it was just a bunch of people, you know, they're going to take the risk, they're going to bump you as they go through, and that's really what happened in this whole lobby. As you can see, we're going to take a nice spin around from the Porsche, who's already launched the BMW, who previously gave us a nice little nudge. So yeah, this has basically just put us down to the back of the grid with the Supra of Giacomo. He's going to come into play a little bit later, and we're going to see what happens with him. So at this point I'm thinking, well, I've got nothing to lose, so I'm just going to go basically full aggressive and just, you know, charge my way through the pack. You know, I'm not going to take anyone out or, you know, completely ram them off the road or anything, but I'm going to start making some lunge moves because, well, that's what the rest of the lobby's doing. So at this point I was basically just going full steam ahead. I kind of thought, like, you know, I played the nice guy for the first lap, but in all honesty, it's not got me anywhere. I've still got caught in the pack. I've still been absolutely wiped. And then again, as you can see, the car that essentially put us into the spin is just at it again, basically riding on the back of a bumper. It's almost like people have no spatial awareness in this game. But yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. You kind of have to expect it in sport mode. Sometimes I like to think that, okay, maybe it's just kind of, you know, ping and stuff like that. Maybe it's just a slight bit of lag, but in all honesty, you kind of get a feel for that. You know, maybe that's a one-time thing, but after that, if it keeps on repeating, it's usually a case of they're just not bothered. So we're going to make a bit of a silly move here, probably not the best place to overtake at all. In all honesty, I should have probably just waited, but I'm just trying to recover at this point. So I'm trying to get something back from this race, and as you can see, I'm going to move out of the way of the Porsche because I have a feeling of what he's going to do, and that's exactly what he did. He getting himself into the rear end of Phil in the Toyota Supra up here. He did manage to get through quite nicely. Luckily it didn't really, you know, cause him any issues. We're then going to try and move around the outside to see if we can get it to pull off. He goes nice and defensive but allows the space, which I absolutely don't mind, and then we're going to get the run out of the final corner to do a bit of a switch back down the straight, and we're going to hopefully be able to outrun the Toyota Supra. So in all honesty, in this whole lobby, shout out to Phil, because he was just probably the best of the bunch in terms of, you know, being able to race side by side with him and not feel like he's going to absolutely throw me into the barrier, whereas the rest of the field, well, I was a little bit on edge at this point, in all honesty. So now we're going to be trying to chase down the Ford GT LM race car. So it appears that the meta car for this week is basically the Porsche, or at least early on. I've not really gone back to this event for a couple of days. I've just been feeling, you know, far too under the weather to kind of race properly with people and, you know, make the most of my time in sport mode. So it does seem like the Porsche is the overall fastest car, so it is nice to see a bit of variety. I personally went for the GTR because it's a car that I recently used in one of my community lobbies, and all of a sudden I fell back in love with it again. Now I'm not really sure where the GTR really ranks in this kind of, you know, race, to be quite honest. When I checked the meta cars, so checking the top 10 times and stuff, it was just flooded with Porsches. So there's quite a few of them, but then we also have the likes of, you know, the BMW Z4, 4 GT LM race cars. We had a couple of Supras and even a Jaguar, which was quite nice to see that, you know, at this point in time that the lobby had not fell into kind of a one make series like a lot of sport mode races do. So at this point we are putting some decent lap times in, so we're very, very close to the fastest lap, and we're going to get even closer to that the next time around, I believe. The 4GT, he's going to go a little bit wide here, and I'm just kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to weigh him up. I feel like I've got more pace and I can probably catch him, but is he going to be like, you know, the majority of this lobby? Is he just going to turn in on me? Is he going to try, you know, give me a little punt, as we have one of the Porsches going off there? I'm not quite sure if he got in contact with a Jaguar or if it was just a case of the getting in the sand really and basically spinning yourself around. Basically in the Porsche, that's a death wish. I had a couple of moments where the rear end left me, but I did manage to catch them pretty much every time, so that wasn't really too much of an issue. There's plenty of grip in the GTR, if I'm honest. I never felt like I was going to kind of lose the rear end, apart from maybe a couple of times, but it was quite easily to you know, rein it back in and catch it. So as you can see, myself and the Ford GT, the LM race car, we're basically caught up to the back of this Jaguar at this point, and then the Ford's going to basically just get it a little bit wrong, and that's going to be basically the end of his little charge, although he did do absolutely awesome. So at this point we're behind the Jaguar, and we're basically going to go onto our final lap, and this is where it really all begins. So at this point, in all honesty, I feel like I've kind of got into my rhythm, you know, after everything that happened on lap 1, and then, you know, probably be driving a bit frustrated on lap 2. I feel like lap 3 and 4 and going on to this final lap, I'd finally, you know, found my rhythm. I kind of settled down into the race, although it's a bit of a shorter race. And now I'm thinking, you know what, I can probably get myself up to P6 here. So the Jaguar does go wide. He manages to cover it off. We managed to basically avoid contact. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy, you know, might be a nice little clean racer that we can get up with. That's one of the moments, well, I mentioned where we got it onto the sand, where we do manage to catch it, and we are currently going purple. So we're on a very, very quick lap here, as we're basically trying to get ourselves past this Jaguar. Now I'm thinking, I don't really want to end up, you know, basically in the barrier or in the sand or anything, so I'm not going to be overly too aggressive. I'm going to throw a few dummies and see what he does, how he reacts, and he doesn't really react to it at all. So we're going up to obviously the corkscrew, probably one of the most infamous turns or parts of a track in, well, history. And as you can see, the Jaguar back comes to a stop, and a Giacomo, the Supra that I mentioned that will come into play, basically launches himself into the back of me, which launches myself into the Jaguar. And at this point, this is where it gets absolutely ridiculous. No attempt to make the turn, but you can be sure that karma is basically out to get you at that point, as he basically completely messes up the final corner, ends up in the gravel, and drops a ton of positions. And in all honesty, it was just that move there that kind of just reminded me what sport mode can end up like, and I feel it's absolutely ridiculous. I just feel like I can understand his frustration. Yes, he's kind of took a, you know, a nudge in the rear, but he basically got away with it. So at that point, there's just no need to then go and make that move. I can understand if he maybe thought it was me, but if you come into a, you know, a dead stop on the top of the corkscrew, you can expect someone's probably going to pile into you. So we're going to have a look through some of the highlights. This is the Giacomo Supra, the guy that was kind of involved and spun around at the start. And as you can see, it's basically just a chain reaction. So he gets himself in the gravel, puts the power down, and basically just spins the Supra around. So we're going to have a look at the BMW Z4 driven by the Spaniard on the run up the hill. I feel like he was just a bit caught off guard there, but I just feel like some of the driving standards in sport mode is just getting worse and worse every time I jump on. So there we go, that's the nudge, that's Michi, basically the guy that spun me around as well in his kind of, you know, move. The BMW is going to pick up a 4-second penalty there, and then we're going to go on board Michi, who basically wiped us out. So he hits the BMW and then gives us a nice little spin around, and there's no way of catching that on the corkscrew, and he's going to get a 4-second penalty as well. So we're going to have a look on board Giacomo once again, but this time on the final lap. So this is on the run up to the corkscrew, and as you can see, maybe he goes a bit too hot in there, but as you can see, the Jaguar just in front of him basically comes to a complete standstill, and I think it just catches him off guard. So he does pick up a 2-second penalty, but I feel like that's maybe a little bit unfair to him, considering how slow the Jaguar went into that corner. And then as you can see, that's the move that really just frustrated me out of this whole race. After a nice charge through the field, I just got over what happened on lap 1, and then, you know, kind of this happened. So let's go on board the Jaguar and have a look. As you can see, he takes the nudge, but he survives it, which I think at this point, look, you've got away with it. The other guy's got a penalty, not myself. And then, as you can see, he gets it wide, and then they just come straight over to the left. No attempt to make the corner, and goes on through. But Karma is going to get him, and we're going to basically see him run wide straight into the gravel, and he's going to drop positions to both myself and Giacomo at that point. So I thought I'd take a quick look on board on the wheel, and just to see what really happened. So he gets it a little bit wrong, he goes onto the gravel, he sees me coming to the outside, and then as you can see, there's a slight move to the left, and then just kind of, you know, stop him dead on the corner, knowing that I'm going to try and attempt to make the corner. So there we have it. I just feel like this is a good example of why sport mode can be the most ridiculous place in Gran Turismo 7 at times. I get it was the start of the week, and, you know, people are getting maybe used to it, and Laguna might not be the most easy track, but when things like that happen, especially last off, where you know there's intention behind it, it can absolutely kill your motivation to race in this mode. So let me know what you thought of this video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from myself. I upload GT7 and motorsport content each and every day. I'll also have my Twitter and my Discord and my donation link down in the description down below, as well as a big thank you to my sponsors who will also be down there, the Controller People and Poggers. Thank you so much to them for the support. Thank you so much to you guys for the support, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys, and as always, peace.